Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Johnny and today I'm super excited to show you all our brand new plugin from Kiive Audio, VXQ. VXQ is an analog-inspired equalizer designed for musical tone shaping and harmonic coloration. Drawing from the character of modern Class A EQs, VXQ expands on this foundation with added flexibility, transformer models, and harmonic drive options. It blends precise digital control with analog style depth and movement, offering warmth, color, and balance for both mixing and mastering. Now, before we get into anything else, let's talk about the signal flow for VXQ. The internal signal path of the plugin is as follows. It goes from the input to the harmonic section, which we'll get more in depth later with our transformers and everything. And then it goes into our high pass and low pass filters. And then it goes to the EQ bands, followed by the output. By default, VXQ operates in stereo with the left and right channels linked, meaning if I were to take this knob on the left side, it's going to mirror that on the right side, and it's going to do that for anything, even our high Q buttons right here, our LF button right here, our auto gain button right here. It all mirrors on the right side. The link button can also be disengaged for independent channel control. So if I go up here to the top bar and I click link off, now the left and right channel are separate to do as I want. In the advanced controls, you can also switch to mid-side mode from stereo mode right here. This allows separate EQ and harmonic control for the mid and side signals. If we go back to the top bar and we look at the input and output controls, a link toggle between them enables one-way linking. Adjusting the input automatically offsets the output to maintain relative gain balance, but changing the output does not alter the input. So if I push up on the output, you'll notice our input stays at 0. And if I push up on the input, you'll see that we get some gain compensation for that. Of course, you can unlink these and move these each independently from one another by clicking the link button right here in the middle of the input and the output knob. Next, let's take a look at the main EQ section. VXQ features 4 main EQ bands: low, low mid, and high. Aside from the EQ bands, it also has a switchable high pass and low pass filters button right here. What that does is if you click on the high pass filter, you can now set where your high pass filter is in the advanced controls. Same thing for the low pass filter. If you engage that, you can adjust where you want that in the advanced controls as well. Let's take a closer look at each of these EQ bands. Starting at the low band, you'll notice this LF button. If I press it, it changes the knob from 150 hertz to 60 hertz. So if you're dialing in a kick drum, for instance, switching this to 60 and just boosting this will get you really nice results really fast. Going up into the low mid band, the low mid band is fully variable from 110 hertz all the way up to 650 hertz. You have your gain knob right here so you can boost it or cut it. We also have the high Q button right here so you can make the bell of the EQ a little bit more narrow. The high mid knob is set up the same way as the low mid knob is. It's fully variable from 720 hertz all the way to 6.1K. You can also boost and cut this with the gain knob, and we have the high Q button right here as well. Looking at the high frequency knob, much like the low frequency knob, we also have this button that will adjust it from 8K to 10K. So you can have different flavors of brightness. Each mid-band features proportional Q behavior, widening at small boosts and cuts and narrowing at larger ones. Each EQ knob is fully variable, but frequency labels around the knobs can be clicked to snap to common frequency anchor points. All right, let's dive into the advanced controls real quick. So by default, it loads up with the advanced controls up. If you want to close them for a little bit of a cleaner look, you just press this button and it closes up in the middle, but for now we'll leave this open. First, we'll take a look at our THD knob. This acts as an input and output compensated drive control, increasing harmonic intensity without altering perceived loudness. The odd knob right here adjusts the triode gain parameter, shaping asymmetry and saturation depth. Increasing this control enhances third order or odd harmonic content. emphasizes even order harmonics, producing smoother saturation with less odd order presence. We went over this earlier a little bit, but this is where you can adjust the high pass filters and low pass filters and engage them with these buttons. We also have our selectable modes right here that we talked about earlier. And before we go on to this vary knob, let's talk about the transformers, which is the main bread and butter of the advanced controls for VXQ. VXQ offers 5 transformer modes, which you'll see labeled here. They're labeled D, 2, K, S, and Z. Each represents a different harmonic coloration style. The D transformer, which is the default transformer, is the cleanest response with mild coloration. The 2 transformer is dual stage and it's a stacked harmonic structure for thicker tone. The K transformer emulates coloration typical of a Kiive 121. The S transformer emulates coloration reminiscent of a St. Ives transformer, adding forward mid-range harmonics. And finally, the Z transformer is inspired by Trident A-range circuits, which adds upper band texture. Also to note, whenever you do hide the advanced controls, no processing change occurs. It simply shows or hides the additional parameters. And now finally wrapping up the advanced section with the variance knob. The more that you push this, the more variance the left and the right side of the plugin are going to have from one another, much like if you had one 500 series EQ next to another 500 series EQ in hardware. They're both going to be a little bit different, but nothing too drastic. This really helps whenever you're mixing. You can crank this up a little bit and it kind of gives you more perceived depth and helps your stereo field quite a bit whenever you stack it across multiple sound sources. And then we'll wrap this up with the top bar. This is very typical Kiive Audio top bar. So you click on the Kiive Audio logo. This opens up the settings menu. It'll show your licensing status, whether you're registered, trial mode, or in beta mode like I have here because I'm filming this pre-release. When in trial mode, clicking the status of your license returns you to the activation screen so you can activate the plugin from there. Also, it includes plugin version information, a link to the Kiive website, and a check for updates button so you can make sure your plugin is always up to date. If we hop across here and we click on this gear icon, this is where you can find your product info and you can adjust the size of the UI all the way to 200%. Which is pretty big, so don't know if you'll ever want to do that, but it's there just in case. We have our HQ button right here next to the link button, which is our oversampling. It goes all the way up to 16 times. Also, we have our preset manager right here as always, so you can save and load your own presets in VXQ. All right, now I'm going to show you VXQ on a couple of sound examples. This first example I'll show you is on drum bus. I'm using my drum bus lifter preset, which you'll be able to find in VXQ as well. So let's go ahead and listen to this before and after. Now, all I did here in this particular preset is I changed this to 10K, boosted a little air to grab those cymbals a little bit, boosted a little 5K, boosted a little 110 and a little 60, kind of hit everything where my drums were hitting, shell-wise, overhead, and room-wise. I also went to the cleanest transformer that we have, and I boosted that a little bit by 3. On the THD gain knob, and then I added a little bit of odd and even harmonics and a little bit of variance, and I called it a day. Next, I'll show you a before and after of VXQ on this rhythm guitar bus that I have. All this is doing is very minimal moves here. just lifting a little bit of air at 10K, but then cutting out the 5 to 6K harshness, and then cutting out a little bit of that cab resonance around 200 to 280, and then also cutting out a little bit of woofiness around 60, just stuff that I don't really want. I don't typically high pass my guitars, so I didn't here. And then just a little bit more of that clean transformer, which is just a really nice signal boost in general. Also to note, I used the variance knob to add a little bit more variance between the left and right, since this is on a stereo bus. Next, I'll show you a before and after of VXQ on this distorted bass track. All this is doing is adding just a little bit of air, a little bit of that 2.5 to 3K bass clink, and then I'm also cutting some of the low mids out right here while boosting a little bit of the low end. And I am driving the K transformer just a little bit. You'll notice whenever you start messing around with VXQ that the K transformer is the most aggressive one. So you got to be a little careful with it. But here is VXQ before and after on this bass track. Now, you take what I did on VXQ across the rhythm guitar bus, the distorted bass, and the drums. This is what it all sounds like in the context of the mix. All right, that's it for this week's video. Thanks for watching. VXQ is on intro sale right now for $39, so be sure to click the link in the description below to give it a trial and get your copy today. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.